There was actually a real shock for me coming into that new mama, having a newborn and losing that identity. And I think I had attached so much to my identity, to who I was, to what I did.
Mm,
And in a moment, I'm someone completely new who I don't even know yet. Like, who
mm.
is this person that's meant to be mother? Like, who is she? How do I be her? And how do I keep this little life sustained?
Hello and welcome to the Mama Culture. This is a place for you to be supported, inspired, and resourced on your unique journey through motherhood. I'm your host, Corey Zorns, a fellow mama, here to bring you information and wisdom on parenting, wellness, personal growth, and everything in between so you can thrive as a modern mama. So grab your favorite warm drink, settle in, and get ready for relatable, honest, and empowering conversations about the most important job in the world. This is the Mama Culture. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for this episode today. I am diving in with a new friend of mine, Hayley Michelle Andrews, and we've been in connection on her birth journey. We were in chats before baby came about leading a retreat. She does amazing divine feminine work. Her and her partner work together and coach on relationships and sensuality and sexuality and embodiment. And I just loved her content and loved what she was teaching. So we've been in contact. And since then, she's had a baby, Zaya, who is 3 months. And man, has she had just a wild, beautiful, intricate experience of birth and postpartum and breastfeeding. And she has so much insight to share. And she is just in the journey right now. So I'm so excited to have her on. And there's just some amazing topics we want to cover that is so valuable for anyone who wants to have a baby in the future, for anyone who has been through the postpartum journey, for anyone who's held any shame or trauma around birth and really wants to come to terms with it and release it and see it. And for anyone who's been a mama forever and kind of just wants to go back to this time and hear another side of things and yeah, just process their own journey. So we welcome all of you. And Hayley, thank you so much for being here today. And just to touch on a little bit about what you do, you are a divine, feminine, sacred sensuality embodiment coach. Hayley uses innate wisdom of the body, the unlimited power of the universe, and the mystical potency of the divine feminine to help women rediscover and reconnect to the truth of who they are. Hayley's passion lies within the ritual realms, inviting women back into their power through sacred rituals that live deep within their DNA, recoding, recalibrating, and remembering. And I feel like that is such a perfect explanation of what we are going to talk about today on this motherhood journey, because I think everything you've done within sacred sensuality and pleasure and embodiment, I feel like that is infused into your journey now. So I'm just excited to dive in with you.
Yeah, thank you, sister. Oh my gosh, it's just amazing to finally be here with you. And what
Yeah.
an incredible topic to be able to speak on. I feel really blessed. So thank you for having
Mm.
me.
Yeah. Thank you for taking this time. I know 3 months into motherhood, there's a lot going on. And there's a lot going on my end too. We were just talking. Me and my family are heading back tomorrow to America to go home for the holidays. We had a major problem with the airline adding our baby to our ticket. So for a moment, he almost wasn't going to fly back with us, which wasn't an option. Yeah, there's just so much going on with the holidays and mamas.
Mhm.
So I'm excited to have this time and this space to talk to you. So I just want to hear a bit about who you are and what you do and anything that you want to share in this time and space of your motherhood journey. And then after that, we'll be diving into both birth and postpartum and breastfeeding and all the good things.
Amazing. Wow. What do I do? Far out. 3 months postpartum. That's such a wild question. So, what I was doing prior to birth is helping women really remember who they are and reconnect to the innate wisdom that lives inside of them. I'm super passionate about ritual work and yeah, just helping women really reconnect to their voice, their passion, and their pleasure. And I work a lot one on one with women, and my partner and I also we work together. We work with couples and we help couples fall deeper in love. We help couples understand each other on a deeper level. We help couples to understand how to communicate with one another. We just bring them back into this beautiful sacred union. So
Mm.
that's what I was doing prior to birth. Now that I'm a mama, my passion is now lying with women and helping them through this time and postpartum and new mamahood, because no one can really prepare you.
Yeah, it's so wild. It's like, how do you get prepared for this journey? So you can read all the books, you can listen to podcasts, you can talk to your friends, and then
Mhm.
everyone's journey is so unique and such a wild ride. And you're just in it. And when you're in it, you're just like, how did no one prepare me for this? And,
Right?
it's the magic of this transition into motherhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
So, how did the work that you were doing, the ritual work, the partnership work, the embodiment work, how did that set you up for birth and motherhood? Do you think those tools and those rituals, are they still in your practices today? And what impact did that have on you becoming a mother?
Yeah, it's all about embodiment, right? Everything that I teach is coming back into the body. And the birth process is all about the body, right? We have to be here. We have to be in the body. We have to trust in ourselves as the feminine, because there has been centuries of our power taken away from us and a lot of women feeling disconnected from themselves. And we have to be completely in our body. And so my practices, everything that I've been delving into for the past 10 years really, really helped me. I had a 42-hour labor. So to be in my body and to know how to breathe and to know how to work with my body, and then also my partner as well, to have him so in tune with my body and so in tune with my needs simultaneously, while I can then also express myself, was really important to be able to go on the journey that we did through birth.
Yeah. I think it's really easy to disassociate with the birth process and the motherhood process. You just are feeling so much. So to just disconnect from your body and to just leave your body can be an easy escape to get out of it. But it is birthing is truly being so deep in your body and your partner being so deep and present in their body. I remember my friend telling me during her birth, she had this beautiful birth here in Bali as well. And she said if her partner left for a second, left his presence, left his embodiment for a second, she'd be like, come back here. I need you. And so it's like that attunement to embodiment during this process. So I'd love for you to share more about this long labor and this birth of yours.
So, look, the birth process for me was absolutely incredible. It was euphoric. It was a rewiring of some beliefs at the same time, which was really, really needed actually. And so, our birth plan was to home birth and to birth at home. We had a beautiful pool set up. We've got the most incredible home, and we have a ceremony room. We actually have a whole room dedicated for ceremony and ritual. And so we set this space up with the birth pool, and we had a lot of affirmations hanging around, candles, fairy lights, all of it. It was so magical. And so that was the plan, to birth our baby, our beautiful earth baby. He's triple earth, by the way, into water and be at home. Just the two of us alongside. We have a beautiful woman who's a birth keeper. So she was there too. And then one of our friends is a doula, so she was there as well. And I remember the night before I went into labor, it was a Monday night, and I could feel him coming. I was anticipating. He was actually born 41 and 4. So he was quite, let's say, late, but they all come in their perfect time. So there is no late or early in my belief anyway. However, he was a little bit over his due date, and I was just anticipating him and I could feel him coming. And I went to bed at about 11 p.m. on Monday night, and I couldn't sleep. I could just feel he was coming. He's ready. He's coming soon. And so I laid awake until 3 a.m. and I started having contractions, and they started coming in waves. And I was laying in my bed and I was like, wow, okay, Sam's next to me. He's sleeping soundly. I'm so excited. Should I wake him? No, I'll leave him. So I left him and I put some earphones in and I put some meditation music on, and I just gently just started laboring in bed, feeling the waves of all of it. the sensations just running through my body. And it actually started off quite intense. My contractions were a minute long and 4 minutes apart. So it was quite a lot. And I laid there until about 7:30 a.m. and Sam started to stir a little and he rolled over to me and I was like, baby, we're having a baby. It's on, he's coming. And so we got up and made some breakfast. And yeah, look, I'd read all the books and I was so quote unquote prepared for this as much as I thought I could be. But the feelings, the sensations, they were deep. And I'm sitting there on my football and I'm trying to remember, stay in my body, stay in the body, be with this, because I noticed myself already wanting to disassociate and text someone or just not be with the process. I could feel myself already kind of avoiding because it was quite intense. And so I hopped into the bath and it helped a lot with the pain. And I messaged my birth keeper and my doula and they came over. And by this time it was about 10 a.m. in the morning. And they came over and we all headed into the ceremony room. And I got in the pool. And every time I got into the pool, it started to slow down. These sensations, they started to really slow down. And I could feel this sense of peace, but I could also feel that I don't think he wants to be born in water. But I had planned that I wanted a water birth. I'd read all about this soft, beautiful entry into the world, coming into the water and how peaceful it is for the babies. And I believe that 100%. And so I really wanted this water birth. Yet every time I was in the pool, everything would slow down. Everything would slow down. So I would get out, they would speed up, the sensations would speed up. And honestly, it was the most surreal experience for me. I actually had a moment where I went into the other realm and I found that when I closed my eyes, I was in the other realms. And when I opened my eyes, I was back here in this experience, in this body, in this third dimension. And I had a moment where I went into another realm and I actually saw my baby, but he wasn't a baby. He was 5 years old and he was sitting on a park bench in front of this pristine lake. It was so beautiful. And I went up to him and I held out my hand and he grabbed my hand and I said, Mama's here now and you can come with me. You can come home with me. You can come home. I'm ready. And so we walked off together and I came back into this realm and I knew I had to get out of the pool because I was in the pool when that happened. And I just had this knowing that he wasn't going to be born in the pool. And so I came out of the pool. Yet the thing was, every time I was out of the pool, the sensations were way more intense and there was so much. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, Mama, you've been there. You've felt these sensations. It's really hard to describe, right? The feeling. And I guess it's probably different for every woman as well. And the sensations were really intense. And there wasn't any position where I could be comfortable. Sitting, standing, leaning, being held on all fours. There was no comfortable position for me. And I labored 32 hours it was 22 hours in excruciating pain because he was actually posterior. So his spine was to my spine.
I know that very well. I know the feeling, I know the pain. They say that it's the most intense labor you can go through when the baby is posterior. They call it sunny side up, spine to spine. And I did the same, like 22 hours of laboring that way before the last 2 hours of pushing. And my goodness, there's just nothing like it. There's just nothing like it. So no position really helps. I remember people telling me, just lay down, just rest. And I cannot take a single contraction laying down. It's so painful. I had to be standing up all on fours. And then we learned all these different techniques for the partner to touch my body, touch or squeeze my hips. In those moments, I cannot be touched. The only thing you can do is squeeze my hand. And the sounding that I learned how to do all these sounding. I couldn't sound because it was so intense that I couldn't give out anything. I had to do all internal, quiet silence through 22 hours of back labor, and it's unreal. I really know what you're talking about. And any other mamas who have gone through back labor and a posterior baby, like, wow.
It's wild, isn't it?
Next level.
It is next level. And same, all the work I do is about pleasure. And
Yeah.
I had this vision of we're going to be deep in pleasure and we're going to bring this baby through in pleasure. And I want to be making out and I want you to even stimulate me and
Yeah.
stay away. There is
Don't
no
touch.
way. Like,
You
don't.
it just every part of your body is almost feeling this pain that it's too painful to be touched.
It was too painful to be touched. And the most comfortable place I found was actually sitting on the toilet. And so I'm sitting on the toilet and Sam is there in front of me on a cushion and he's got a headlight on because by this time it's in really late at night. I have no idea what time it is, but it's dark outside. I forgot to mention it was a really stormy day. Like it was beautiful weather all week here in Perth. And then on this one day, it was stormy. It was wild outside. And so I'm sitting there on the toilet. Sam has his headlight on. Our birth keeper is like behind, just keeping to herself. And Zaya, my baby, my boy, he had traveled all the way down the birth canal and you could actually feel his head. So I could feel his head. Sam could see his head.
When you put your fingers up, you could feel his head.
Yeah, when I put my fingers up, I could feel his head. So he was so close. And I've been told this was around maybe 8 p.m. at night, around that time. And there was this huge fight between my maiden and my mother. So my maiden, she was just so fucking scared and she was in so much pain. And I just remember being like, help me, I can't do this. I can't do this. And then in a split second, my mother would take over and I'd be like, I can do this. I can do this. And I would start really bearing down. And I was coming out with like these really wild roars, apparently. It's like the mama, she just comes in and she is a force and she just takes over. And as you know, like for me anyway, that back pain, it felt like my back was broken. It felt like my back was broken. And every time I would push at the same time as trying to open, my body would contract. My body would tense. My body would hold. And this is what I teach in all of my work, that to actually call anything in to create, we need to be open. We need to let go. We can't be tense. We can't be gripping because when we're gripping, we're not open to receive. And it's the same in birth. And so I was having this struggle of opening, but at the same time closing. And he was so close. He was right there, but I couldn't get him out. I couldn't get him out. It was so painful. And by this time, I think it was about 5 o'clock the next morning. So it'd been a very long time of being in this position of him being right there, ready to be birthed, but me not being able to get him out. And this is what I want to speak into when we get into it. I really had this idea of a free birth. I had this idea of a home birth, of no medical intervention. I was so against the system that I pushed myself so much longer than I probably should have because I was in excruciating pain. It was something that I've never experienced and I really hope to never experience again, but I'm so open to it, to birth another beautiful bundle of joy because, as you know, it's the most beautiful thing in the world, having this baby. And so, yeah, my birth keeper and doula actually went home. They said, we're going to go home. We're going to take a break. You guys need to sleep. I couldn't eat. Every time someone would feed me something, I was vomiting.
Me
I couldn't
too.
keep anything down. So wild. So I couldn't drink. I couldn't eat. I was dehydrated. I hadn't slept. By this time, it was 5 a.m. Thursday morning. So I'd been up. The last time I slept was Sunday night because the Monday prior, I was so anticipating him coming that I hadn't slept. And so as Sam was trying to rest, I'm in the shower on all fours with the shower just pelting down on my back. And I'm just there. I think I was there for like 3 hours.
Wow.
And then Sam said, baby, let's just try again. Let's try again. Let's go back into the ceremony room. He's so close. Let's try again. And then if not, we're going to hospital. We have to. And so we went back into the ceremony room and I got into the pool because the pain was just so excruciating. At this stage, Sam had to help me walk into the ceremony room. I couldn't walk, couldn't sit down, I couldn't stand. There was no way where I was comfortable. So I got into the pool and I remember like leaning on the side of the pool and I was coming in and out of consciousness. So I would pass out and my head would actually hit the water and it would hit the water and it would wake me back up again. And I'd just be like back in this experience. Like it was intense. I mentioned before, I was having this real battle with my non-belief in the medical system and going into hospital. And it got to 11 a.m. and Sam and I looked at each other and we're like, it's time. It had been 32 hours at home in this experience. He called an ambulance and we got transferred into hospital. And that's a whole other story.
There's just so much in that. It takes me back to those moments. Our journeys were so similar of our laboring. I was up for 2 days straight, no sleep, because I started a light labor the night before, so it's 2 days of no sleep, and anything I would eat or drink would immediately come out. So I was really dehydrated and really tired, and I remember in those moments of contractions, I would be there leaning over something contracting. The second it was over, I would pass out, and my head would drop, and then I would wake back up, and I remember in those moments having so much understanding, compassion, and just full understanding of why the medical system is here, why people choose to go into the medical system, why some women choose to get pain relief. Because what I went through, not everyone would choose to go through. And the same thing you went through, it's with a baby turned that way. It's just a next level experience in your body. And I would say the same thing. Like, I've done so much work within my body and within meditation and breathing and my yoga journey that I could really be with it.
And just like complete reverence for the feminine, right? Like complete reverence. And it's such a humbling as well, a humbling. So yeah, I'd been listening to a lot of podcasts about free birth, about wild birth, and a lot of the stories on there about the medical system and the hospitals and how they treat you and how it's all a money-making experience and how they want you in and out and they're going to intervene and then you're going to have to lay on your back and birth on your back and it's a very unnatural way and they're going to keep offering you pain relief and just how bad, how negative the hospital experience is. So I had all these ideas in my head and I was really scared, but at the same time, I knew I needed support. And what we experienced was completely different to any of the stories that I have heard. And we were just met with these beautiful women who dimmed the lights, brought in fairy lights, they brought in salt lamps, they asked us if we wanted to put a birth playlist on. They asked us what our birth requirements were and everything that we spoke into. You know, we wanted delayed cord cutting. We wanted to keep the placenta. We wanted Sam to deliver the baby. We wanted skin to skin straight away. We wanted no interference. We wanted no lights on. We didn't want any of the monitors, all of the stuff. And they completely respected it. 100%. One of the midwives, she got out I don't know if you know the peanut balls. They're like a medicine ball, but they're in the shape of a peanut. And she's like, look, let's put this in between your legs. I'm going to do some of the spinning baby techniques. I ended up getting an epidural and it was a really tough decision to make because all of the books I read, it spoke into how bad it is for the baby and how the baby is coming into a foggy experience. And yeah, it's not going to be a soft birth. And so it was challenging for me to make that decision, but it was actually quite compromising for him because he'd spent a long time in the birth canal. You know, my waters had been broken for like 20 something hours and he'd just been down there. And so I could feel that he was wanting to come and he was quite distressed. I could just feel that in my body. And so when they offered me a epidural, I was like, yeah, I need it. I need it, please. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to relieve some of this pain. And the beautiful thing about it is that it numbed my entire back, but I could still feel contractions in my womb and I could still feel my entire pussy. I could feel everything down there. My whole back was numb. And it was just like so much fucking relief. Like, oh my gosh, this feeling of my back being broken to just complete healing within a moment. And the experience that I was able to then be in more of a calm state. I was able to talk, I was able to laugh, I was able to just be really present rather than trying to escape my body because of the pain. We were in the hospital for 10 hours and what I'd heard is they're going to try and get you in and out and it's going to be horrible. You're going to have to birth on your back. And yes, the midwife was giving me all of these options. Do you want to get up on your hands and knees? We can put you against the back of the bed. Do you want to squat? And they had a bar where you could actually hold and squat. Like they had a pool there. Do you want to go in the pool? And this was a public hospital. And before I knew it, it was time to push and I could feel everything in my vagina. I could feel him still moving down. I could feel him coming out. And yeah, it was the most beautiful experience. One of the midwives said, do you want me to film it? And she grabbed my phone and she filmed the whole thing. So we have a beautiful video of him coming into the world and doing his little turn that they do. And Daddy catching him and putting him up onto my chest. And it was beautiful. And I'm so grateful that I got to have both of these experiences. I got to have the home experience where I went into the other realms and I fetched my baby boy. And it was so painful, but it was euphoric. And it was also super empowering to know that I can go through that much sensation and not die. And then to be in the hospital and completely rewrite my relationship with the medical system was such a blessing. And I'm grateful that we were there, because by the time he entered Earthside, he had a lot of fluid on his lungs. He had swallowed a lot of meconium as well. And normally if babies swallow meconium, I feel like it can be okay. I don't think that there needs to be a real rush about meconium being in your waters or the baby possibly swallowing some. However, when Zaya came earthside and Daddy put him onto my chest, actually, I think it's a Hawaiian tradition. You might know this. I don't know if it's Hawaiian. I think it's Hawaiian. There was this tradition that I read about where the people would, the elders, when they would pass all this information down, and when they would birth, the father would catch the baby and he would whisper something into the baby's ear.
Our midwife had us do that. I have every moment we just have goosebumps because it just really brings me back to that time. And our midwife, Ibu Robin, really told us, she's like, Christian, you whisper something into the baby's ear. And what she said is that is the last thing he will also hear before he dies. And that will stay with him for his entire life. And wow, it's so special.
Yes, yes. And the reason why it stays with them is because when we die and we have the flashbacks all the way through our whole life. So we're who we are when we're on our deathbed, and we go all the way back to our birth. And so that will be the last flash, that experience of Daddy whispering in Bubba's ear, whatever it is. And so Sam whispered in his ear, "You are magic." And then he passed him to me and put him on my chest. And yeah, it was so beautiful. None of the midwives they weren't touching him. They were just standing back. And within that, he couldn't breathe properly. He was gurgling. And when I listen back to the recording, the video, when I watch it back and I can hear his breathing, you could hear the water, and he's trying to breathe and he can't breathe properly. And, I stayed with him for a moment. Sam actually tried to suck the fluid out through using his mouth. So we did that from his nose and it wasn't working. And yeah, the midwives were like, "Look, we think we need to take him and listen to this breathing." And we're like, "Look, can we just hold on to him for a little while longer? We want to make sure that it's not just a false alarm." And they were fine with it. They were monitoring his breathing. And they let us stay with him like that for a good 15, 20 minutes. But it got to a point where I knew in my body that he wasn't okay. He was struggling. He couldn't really breathe. I could feel it. And so we said, "Yeah, please take him and tell us what you need to do." And they listened. They were with him for quite some time and they said, "We need to drain his lungs. There's a lot of fluid on his lungs. There's a lot. So we need to drain his lungs. Like, he needs them to be drained." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, take him." And Daddy went with them and he was by his side every step of the way, every moment I was still in the bed. And yeah, they drained, thank God, because they drained it all from his lungs. And who knows what would have happened if we weren't there? Who knows? And then we actually had to spend a week in intensive care with him because of the fluid on his lungs. And we stayed there with him every night. And the hospital staff, they don't normally do this, but they found a room for us so that we could stay there because we were the only parents who were just like by his side 24/7. And they were so caring. They understood postpartum and how mama needs rest. And there I am sitting by his bed, like on this cold, hard seat, just sitting by his bed 24 hours. And they were amazing. Our whole experience in the hospital was amazing. And we are so grateful that we went there because we don't know what would have happened if he was born with that much fluid on his lungs at home.
I feel like just every baby truly has their own birth plan. And I think it's often us that we want this specific plan and we've read this book or we have thought of this way that we want to bring our babies in. And of course, we all want it to be so gentle and so magical and at home is amazing. And thank God for the medical system. Thank God that you went in at that time that you did and listened to that and didn't fight that. And I've had so many friends as well here in Bali who have planned for home births and who have ended up at the hospital and have had amazing, beautiful experiences. And some have had C-sections and some have had just natural births at hospitals, but they needed more support and the support was there. And I think the same as you. And we've both learned this on our own journey of motherhood. It's like, we just have to be open and ready and okay with both. And I think it's really healthy not to be stuck in the mindset of this is the only way. And if it's not this way, it's not okay. Because in the end, we just want our babies to be safe. We just want them to be safe so we can love them and have them with us. And so whatever helps with that, it's like, thank goodness. Thank goodness for these amazing nurses and midwives and doctors who are doing things so beautifully and are truly there to support. And then, of course, people have had hospital experiences that aren't so great either. And that's really hard to hear about. And there's a lot of processing and clearing and moving the energy from that. But I just love this experience of like, okay, this is where I was supposed to be. And thank God I was there.
Yeah, actually, just before we go on, I wanted to mention as well, because I'd heard all of these horror stories about midwives in the hospital checking your dilation and just sticking their hands in and just horrible stories. And when my experience was so different, the midwife, she asked me if I wanted to know my dilation. And I did want to know because it'd been so long. And just before she was about to examine me, she said, "Look, I'm about to place my fingers on your vagina now. Is it still a yes?" And I said, "Yes, it's still a yes." She asked me twice. I said, "Yes." And then she also said, while her fingers were inside of me, "At any moment, you can just tell me that it's a no now." And that blew me away. And in that moment, I was like, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
And it's something you and I had talked about earlier, and you mentioned when we were just chatting before this, but knowing your options when you go to a hospital is so important. I had a birth at home and I had a backup plan for the hospital in case anything happened. And we're here in Bali, and of course, we're navigating different languages. So we had every option written out in English and in Bahasa. And then what I had learned is like the dad is like the bodyguard. He knows every single thing I'm a yes to, I'm a no to, and he can speak on my behalf in those moments because laboring women cannot often speak all the options and make decisions. So, parents being a team in the hospital and knowing that you do have options, it doesn't have to just be a yes to everything that they suggest. And you might need more information. You might want to ask them, like, is this the best way? Is this the only way? Are there options? But knowing before you go into the hospital all the different options that you have, because in the birthing journey, there are so many different options from medication, from inducing. Once the baby comes, there's different options there. There's medication they might give to the baby. They don't have to. There's just options. And if you don't know any of your options, then they might be making those decisions for you. But if you know those options ahead of time, I feel like you can go into a hospital with so much more just ownership and choice, which it sounds like you just had so much choice, which is just so beautiful. That's what us mamas want in birthing our babies. We just want consent and agreement and choice.
Yeah, yeah. And we said that we're not getting our baby vaccinated. There is nothing, you're not to give our baby anything. We knew all of this. And you're so right, Corey. The man, the partner is the gatekeeper, and they need to know, they need to be on board with everything as well. And it's so empowering when we know our rights. And I think that's when women might have had terrible experiences if they don't know that they can say no, and if they don't know that they can request what they desire.
And then if their partners don't know either. And I think this comes back to the pre-birth planning. Me and my partner read this book that we really loved. It's called Your Baby, Your Birth. And it talks about both at-home birth, hospital birth, every plan, everything you can know. So I read the book and then my partner read the book, and my partner is a Virgo. He is detailed. I'm like a Gemini. I'm like, great, great book. Got it. I'm ready. Put some affirmations on the wall. He read the book with a highlighter and noted everything down. And then he went to his computer and typed up all the notes and had everything. So I'm like, you could coach other dads on this. But he was on my team the entire way of, if we go to the hospital, I know what to say. If we're at home, I know what's going to happen with the midwives. So he was on my team for this birth prep. And I think wow, the men, it's a team, like men and women birth together. And if you don't have a man by your side birthing, if you are a mother on your own doing this, then having that friend, that sister, that support that is literally your birth partner and can be on this journey with you and stand for you and know the options because it changes everything.
It really does. It really changes everything. And just putting gratitude out there to the beautiful partners of the world that support their women during this process, because I can only imagine how challenging it could be to see your woman in that much pain.
Yeah, I remember processing that with Christian before, and he's like, I've never, the look on your face. I can't imagine what it feels like because to see us in that much pain and to not be able to take any of it. And to just
Exactly.
know that this is our pain to hold and our journey, and you just
Yeah.
witness and hold space for us. Like,
And
it's unreal. I can't imagine. Oh, and a question. Before Zaya came, did he end up turning before he came out?
yeah, he did. He did the turn. You can see it on the video. It's so Sam just said that was the most incredible moment for him, was when he saw just the intelligence of the baby just knowing, turning the body. Yeah, it's wild.
When I went into labor, my midwife felt my belly and she knew the baby was posterior and she didn't
Wow.
tell me. She had the intuition not to tell me because she didn't want anything to get into my head. And she didn't tell me because she trusted him. She's like, he knows what he's doing and he'll know how to turn. And so in that 22, 24, by the end of his 24 hours of labor, he shifted within my belly and came out as well. He came out with his elbow up, his hand by his face. I remember in the end of laboring, I'm like naked. I just have a sarong wrapped around me and I'm like on the top floor looking out over the rice paddies. And I'm like, I am so damn powerful. I can do anything after this. Like nothing will stop me because this is it. If we could experience like death is no big deal. We could handle anything. Nothing will ever stop us ever again.
100%. It's like it's the mama fierceness. She just comes in and she's there. Yeah.
Okay, so after this beautiful, wild, this incredible hospital, the incredible midwives, what was next on your journey? How was you had a week in the hospital, which I just can't even
Mhm.
imagine. And then
Mm.
how was that and your postpartum journey? And we chatted a lot about breastfeeding and how that was for you. So I would love to hear more.
Yeah. The week in hospital was actually a really beautiful
Wow.
experience. Yeah, it was a really beautiful experience. And everyone that we had contact with was so helpful. And Sam and I actually joke about how our week in hospital was baby school for us. Like, they taught us so much: how to breastfeed, how to latch, how to change a nappy, when to change a nappy, to feed, to burp a baby. I was like, how would I do this if I didn't have this experience? It's just wild, you just this new person one moment to the next. And yeah, I really want to speak into that because I feel like, well, in my experience anyway, I wasn't subject to women talking about the complete shift into mother. I've not experienced anyone speaking about that journey. And to me, it was such a shock. It's like we are different person one moment to the next, like in a split second. The maiden has completely gone and it is the mother. And for me, it was actually really challenging once we came home from hospital and we're just mama and dada now. And we've got this little life that, and for the mother, if you're a breastfeeding mama, you've got this little life that is completely dependent on you. And who you were just completely disappears. And you are a slave to this little human, right? It's like, I am your.
I am yours forever. I can do anything you want.
Yeah.
I will put all my needs aside, anything I wanted in this moment. I will not pee. I will not have water. I am yours. I know.
Yeah, there was actually a real shock for me coming into that new mama, having a newborn and losing that identity. And I think I had attached so much to my identity, to who I was, to what I did.
Mm,
And in a moment, I'm someone completely new who I don't even know yet. Like, who
mm,
is this person that's meant to be mother? Like, who is she? How do I be her? And how do I keep this little life sustained? And I actually had, yeah, quite a lot of anxiety around it. And then there were even moments where I thought to myself, what the fuck have I done? What have I done? Why did I do this? I can't do this. I can't be a mum. Do I even want to be a mum? And there was some deep, deep, deep dark thoughts. And yeah, I really want to make light of this because it's interesting though. You and I, we were actually meant to do this podcast a couple of months ago. And I
Mhm.
think it's just the universe is always providing that it was meant to happen now because
Yeah.
I am so through that fog now. And I'm
Yeah.
so through that experience where I'm now. I am mother, I am maiden, I am all of the things. I can do
Mm.
this. I am empowered. I know how to look after my baby. You know, I had so
Yeah.
much fear in the beginning, and there'd be so many times where I would just hand him to Sam because I couldn't handle him crying, you know. So yeah, I went through this whole grieving of losing the maiden and not even really wanting to be a mom. So
Mhm.
yeah, and it was challenging. And I think a lot of women, we talk about postnatal depression, and who wouldn't be feeling something? We've completely lost ourselves and
Yeah.
we're finding anew. And it's challenging. It's challenging. Like, I didn't know that babies had to be fed every few hours. I didn't know that babies were going to wake up during the night. Before, when I was pregnant, so many people would say to me, enjoy your sleep now. And I was like, nah, my baby's going to sleep. It's all good.
I don't think any of us know these things. I think we have, like, a mom or someone there at the time where they're like, "Okay, now every 2 hours, you just got out of birth, now every 2 hours you're gonna be up feeding the baby," and we're like, "Wait, what? For how long?"
Yeah, wait, you mean I can't sleep for 10 hours now after being up for four
Yeah.
days? It was
Mhm.
a shock to me, and we went through some real challenging times. You know, there was strain on our relationship as well.
Mm.
There was just so much that happened in that. I feel like the fog really started to lift after maybe week 10. So
Mm.
that whole postpartum period, it was wild for me, and I had to learn how to trust myself as this new identity as
Yeah.
the mother.
It's funny because we've done so much work around this. You and I have both done so much work around partnership and communication, and then to see how challenged you are in your relationship. And man, me and Christian we've gotten rocked time and time again. We have gotten rocked. And I almost see the more connected you are with this experience, with your partner, with how you want to do things, it can sometimes make it even more challenging because when you're living in this world of disconnection and living in society's mold without
Hmm.
really waking up, you can almost skip some of this because you don't even realize it's there and you're not even present to it. You're almost just disengaged and you're just
Mhm.
walking through the motions.
Mhm.
So I find for a lot of women, when we are this deep in our work and this committed and so devoted to our path and to our partners and to motherhood and to feeling this experience,
Oof,
wow, there's a lot to feel. There's a lot to feel.
that's a lot to feel.
And I love what you said about postpartum depression because it is this thing that, it's this big word that we talk about and we're like, what does it mean? And how many people have it? And do we all have it? And I can only speak from my own personal experience, but the beginning of my postpartum journey was really, for the most part, blissful. I had a lot of some relationship bumps for sure and some really tired nights, but mine was pretty blissful. And mine hit around 15 months. And this feeling of something being off was when my cycle came back. And again, just more identity shifts as my baby got older and as I got more into my new role. And I felt really depressed and really down and really lost. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Am I okay? Is my body okay? And I just realized, like what you're saying, feeling off, feeling down, feeling depressed, feeling sad, feeling lost, not knowing who you are, I think it's normal. I think all of us mothers feel it at some point. And sometimes it's ongoing, and sometimes you might need some more support. I feel like we all need support, whether it's coaching or a sister and our partner to feel something different and off and down. I mean, you just have went through a death of your former life. I think we could really normalize feeling depressed or sad or lost or down because I felt it and it felt really confusing. And when
Mhm.
I really validated it and I really just let myself feel like this is okay, this is normal, I want to talk about it. I want to tell my partner. I also want to test every single part of my body that I can test. I want to test my hormones and my thyroid and my nutrients because I just birthed a baby and I deserve every piece of support. So I will spend all the money, all the time, all the energy on resourcing myself. And I really had to go through that process. And I'm like coming through the fog now, but it was not easy at all. And I think every mother goes through it on their own timeline.
I believe that too, and yeah, I think what you said as well, the such an important key component here is to recognize it and to speak into it and to normalize it, because I feel like a lot of mamas can feel so alone in
Mm.
their feeling.
You're not supposed to be alone in it. There's so many times where, like, I'm on my own mama island and no one gets it and no one can hear me, and I have a lot of friends and some aren't mothers or some are mothers, but they're in different stages, and you
Mhm.
can feel so alone, and you're like, "My partner hears me, but he'll never understand this experience," and it can feel really isolating, and it can feel really alone. So I feel like the more we talk about it, the more we normalize it, and the more we let people in and let our partners in and let them feel our hearts and let our friends in, whether they're maidens or mothers, and just let people see and hold and feel us and ask for the support that we need, it makes a big difference. And it doesn't solve it. Like, you still have to go through it and on your own, which can be really scary, but it helps it. And it definitely makes you feel less alone.
Absolutely. Yeah, the importance of tribe and community, right? Like to reach out and to speak and to allow yourself to be held so that you can just experience it and move through it in its own divine grace, right?
Yeah. Also, divinely bumpy and hard and messy. But in the end, I truly trust that it's a divine experience and that this is what's meant to happen. And it literally makes women who they are. And it makes us different after, and we'll never be the same. And the power and the fierceness and the capabilities and the capacity that we have after this is just undeniable and unbelievable. And then we almost have to remember we have so much capacity after birth to still ask for support, because with this much capacity, we just sometimes can't take on everything, but we're not meant to. It's like we have so much capacity and so much power, and we don't have to use all that energy. We can also conserve it and reserve it and then ask for so much support around us. Okay. Do you want to touch on your breastfeeding journey a bit?
Yeah, I would love to speak into my breastfeeding journey because do they say that it's hard or do people just think, because I just thought you just put the baby on your boob and it's good.
I did a lot of breastfeeding research because I talked to other mamas. I talked to one mama who said that her breastfeeding journey was harder than her birth journey. And I was like, okay, I hear you. And I really researched because I'm like, okay, there's a lot to learn here. It's not, of course, the baby can just find the boob and it should be this natural thing, but there's a lot for us to learn or relearn.
I'm not a researcher. I like to listen to people's stories,
Mm.
definitely not a researcher. And I had no idea that there could be such struggle with breastfeeding. And I have really struggled. I've really
Mm.
struggled. It's 3 months now and I have persevered and I'm just coming through. And I feel like I've got more of a innate ability to breastfeed my son. However, that I'm still like hunching over. I'm still holding my breast in his mouth. It's not
Mm.
perfect. I've had a few lactation consultants and they all say, bring the baby to the boob. Don't bring the boob to the baby. And I still can't do that yet, but I'm feeding him and he is solely on the breast. And that was and is my desire. And there is no shame in bottle feeding baby. I've got plenty of friends who their babies have formula, they get bottle fed, or they might get donation breast milk, and that is completely okay. We had Zaya on a bottle at the nighttime for the first maybe 6 weeks because he actually had a tongue tie. He was born with a tongue tie. And so his latching ability wasn't strong. And so, yeah, the baby couldn't draw the milk in. So, for the people listening, if you aren't aware, the more the baby is on the breast and the more the milk the baby extracts from the breast, the more the body knows to create milk.
Mm.
And so, if you've got a bubba who has a tongue tie and he can't latch properly, or she can't latch properly and she can't draw the milk in, then the breasts aren't going to create and make enough milk for the baby. And so that was my experience. I had a lot of trouble with this. And again, I did all the natural things. I ate all the cookies. I drank all the teas.
Yeah.
I did all of the things.
Mm.
And I was pumping. I was doing what you call a power pump. I don't know if you've
Mm.
heard of it.
Yep. Did the pumping help you?
No, the pumping didn't help. And I was exhausted. After every feed, I was pumping. Between feeds, I was pumping. I was doing power pumping. So you pump one side for 10 minutes, pump the next side for 10 minutes, go back and forth until you do an hour of pumping.
Wow.
And I was just exhausted, pumping through the night. Like, I was doing everything and anything I could to get my milk supply up, and nothing was helping. And I found myself in tears with my son attached to my breast and not being able to get the milk that he needed. It was heartbreaking for me. It was heartbreaking. And so, like I said, I tried all of the things and nothing worked. And I've got quite a lot of beautiful community around me via Instagram. And I had a lot of beautiful women message me and say, have you tried domperidone? And it's actually a pharmaceutical medication, and it actually helps the women. If women take it, it actually increases the prolactin, which helps with the milk supply. And again, I was resistant. No, I can do it. I can keep doing it. I'm going to stick with the pumping. I'm going to stick with the cookies. I'm going to eat heaps of oats. I'm going to eat lots of brewer's yeast, all of the things. Yeah, I did everything and nothing worked. And so again, another rewiring of my relationship with medication, because I could count on my hand the amount of times that I've taken Panadol in my life. I don't reach for the drugs. And so, yeah, it got to a point and my mum just said to me, Hayley, I think you should just give it a go. Please give it a go. She could see me in distress and my partner could see me in distress. And so I gave it a go. And within 2 days, I was producing milk like a fucking cow. I was like, I was on. It was on. And my baby was happy. He was getting milk. He would latch better and he could get what he needed from my breast. And it's been, again, such a humbling experience.
Wow.
So now I am happy to say I'm completely breastfeeding. There's been no bottles, and it has been about 6 or 7 solid weeks of breastfeeding. So it's really beautiful.
I love this idea of releasing shame and releasing judgment around your choices as a mama. You know what you said, it's like, if you do formula, if you do bottle feed, if you do take medication, if that is your path and your journey and that feels right and feels aligned to you, taking away the shame. Because I would say, as long as you are trying your best, as long as you are trying to get the resources and the information and the support, and you are trying your best, which I know you are, then not holding shame and not holding judgment for yourself or others, because we're all just in on this journey trying our best for ourselves and our little ones, and that's all we can do, and that's the best that there is. And if anything, it's like the flaw is in the system. The flaw is in our society and the support that mothers have and the resources that mothers have, but the flaw is not in the mothers. And so there's just such up-leveling that our entire society needs to do. And, you know, there's some big changes there, but releasing shame from the mamas and judgment from the mamas.
Yes. And, there used to be a saying called, it went, breast is best. But now it's fed is best. If your baby is not getting fed on the breast and you need to give your baby formula, you give your baby formula, right? And to have no judgment and no shame. We're here to inspire. We're here to lead and teach. And I feel like for me, this whole experience of birth and the mother and breastfeeding I keep coming back to saying it's a humbling experience, because I'd read all the books and listened to the podcasts about free birth, about wild birth, against the system, against any sort of medication. And I was preaching that. I remember being on Instagram speaking and saying, mamas know how to give birth, babies know how to be born. We don't need any intervention. We don't need pain relief. We can do this. Like, this is what we are born to do. And I feel like, because I have that 6th line, which is that person who is going to inspire and to lead, I feel like I was humbled into, okay, you're going to get this experience so that you can speak what actually needs to be spoken. And that is that every woman's experience is so fucking unique, and there is no right or wrong. It is right for you, whatever you choose to do, because the most important thing is that baby is safe, baby is healthy, baby is happy, baby is fed. So just taking away any shame and any judgment, and that's in the work that both of us do, right? It's like working through that. It's about forgiving the self and loving the self through all of it, through all of the mess.
Loving ourselves through all the mess.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that message. And thank you so much for sharing that. I think that will really hit home to a lot of mamas out there who are going through their own journey. Thank you so much for being here and sharing so openly and so honestly. And I feel like you will be a big voice on your path. I feel like you've always been a big voice for what you do and what you share. And I feel like now you will truly be a voice for mamas on this path and with this new knowledge and this new wisdom and the new codes that you have. So on that, is there anything else that you want people to know, and where to find you and where to connect with you, where to watch your mama journey?
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, beautiful. You can find me on Instagram. That's where I hang out most. So just Hayley Michelle Andrews, all one word, and we can connect. I'm still deep in mama. I'm deep in mama. However, next year I am going to start taking on some clients, and there is definitely something birthing within the pregnancy, birth, postpartum realms. It's still in the ethers at the moment, but that will come through, and just reach out. I love chatting to women. I love supporting women through this journey now. It's such a passion of mine. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for having me on here, for sharing the work that you do so that women everywhere can feel connected and safe and inspired and at home in their choices, in their bodies.
Thank you so much, Hayley. Such a pleasure, such a joy speaking and connecting with you. And I just truly feel connected to you on your path. And I'm sure there's a lot more we'll be doing together in the future.
Yes, amazing. Thank you, Mama.
Thank you. All right, Mama, thank you for tuning in. I am sending you so much support and love on your journey through motherhood. Remember, you are not alone in this beautiful, wild, and sometimes challenging journey of motherhood. This is your village. Please subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share this with anyone else that you think would benefit. Take care, Mama, and I will see you next week. Thank you for being part of the Mama culture.